Shrutismriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavat Pada Shankaram Loka Shankaram. According to this, the Veda, the Vedic lore, Vedic culture, the Jivatma which resides in our heart or inside the body is one and the same. Egam Sat. As you know very well, the Vedic texts are very difficult to interpret. Even great scholars, they have broken their brain to interpret these Vedic mantras in different ways. Even now, even after Shankara, the intellectual group, the scholars, they are not fully satisfied. Even now, new meanings are coming out from Veda according to time, according to the situation, and like that. Our attempt is to have more discussions and more workshops on Vedic literature, inviting traditional scholars and also modern scholars, those who are working hard in the area, and put them together and discuss, because traditional scholars have their own line. Modern scholars also not very much familiar with the traditional systems. So we have the necessity of the time is that there should be an inner dialogue between these two groups and bring more fresh and relevant meanings from the Vedic literature. According to Indian faith, the Vedas constitute the ultimate pramana, the bedrock on which our Sanatana Dharma is unshakably anchored. They are Apaurushaya, not of human origin, revealed as they were to the great sages at the conclusion of their arduous penance. It is an article of faith with the devout Hindu that the Vedas are not only of human origin, but also the very embodiment of divinity itself, in as much as they constitute the life breath of the Almighty. If the Upanishads form the crest jewel of the Vedas, reveal the truth in intuitively illuminating passages without parallel in the history of human thought, the various upasanas, apart from Upanishads, prescribed in the Upanishads themselves provide the means of sadhana to pave the way for ultimate revelation. Yet no sadhana can fructify unless the mind has first been purified. This purification is a vowed goal of the various anushthanas enjoined in the karma kanda of the Vedas. The SRIRUDRAM of Satarudriya, or rather known as Rudropanishad, is found in the karma kanda, the fourth mandala, the fourth kanda of Taittiriya Samhita of Krishna Yajurveda. That is the text which I have taken for discussion in this workshop. And when we come across the, when we talk about the this portion of the Karmakanda portion of the Yajurveda, can we say like that? I don't know, because Professor rather K. Narayanan Bhuti, from his traditional point of view, and also he is endowed with a modern point of view also. He is a Savyasaji. He can say more about perhaps than me in this matter. There is no exclusively Karma Kanda or Jnana Kanda, all are mixed together. And we come across several Upanishads which are supposed to be the agencies of Jnanakanda, we are seen in Karmakanda. The Vedas are the oldest yet ever new scripture of mankind. They are at once a challenge and an inspiration. The challenge is because the grand truth they enshrine call for very deep erudition and meditation to realize them. But the inspiration is from the supernal heights of knowledge and bliss of pure spirituality. Because of the difficulty in understanding them true, their true import, most of Vedic mantras are far from popular. They are not so common. Common man has nothing to do with that. They are not a common coin. But certain Vedic passages, but even though all these things are stand like that, there is a difference. There are some Vedic passages stand out, compelling attention by the majesty of their diction and the sweetness of their sound. SRIRUDRAM, which occurs in the fourth kanda of the Taittiriya Samhita in the Krishna Yajurveda, tops the list. This is the first one in that nature, with that nature. This Vedic homage to Lord Rudra is remarkable not only for its phonetic grandeur, but also for its universality of approach to the divine. Rudra, to whom these prayers are addressed, is not a sectarian deity. We can see several sectarian deities in Veda, but Rudra is not a sectarian deity. But the supreme being. Rudra is the supreme being who is omnipresent and manifests himself in myriad forms for the sake of diverse spiritual aspirants. Hence, this text is also known as Shatarudriyam. That is Rudra in hundreds of forms. Upanishads being called a mystery, Rahasya. All Upanishads are Rahasya. Rudropanishad is another befitting appellation for the text, the Shatarudram or Shatarudriya or SRIRUDRAM. Rudram reveals at its center the great Panchakshari, the famous five-letter mantra Namah Shivaya. No wonder SRIRUDRAM is used for the devotees in daily puja, japa, homa, and other religious rituals. Its daily recital is said to confer on the aspirant all blessings, material and spiritual. It is said if Rudra is worshipped, all the other deities also are propitiated. Saluting the Lord with the obeisance, Namaha, fulfills all one's aspirations. To worship a deity, the sadhaka must have a vivid picture of the deity's appearance. SRIRUDRAM, therefore, gives a long list of the details of Rudra's appearance. His body pervades the entire universe. It shines in immaculate white covered by the holy ashes. The snakes dangling as charming ornament, the blue throat recalling the great service the Lord rendered at the churning of the milk ocean for nectar. The matted locks adorned by the crescent moon, the mighty bow in hand, the triple eyes, the vibrant dancing pose, all help in meditating on the form of the formless Lord. The form of the formless Lord. He has no form actually, but this form is depicted too for the sake of sadhana. He is the sun and the moon and the eternal fire, or rather, he makes all these shine by his light. Yasya bhasa, Upanishad says, Yasya bhasa sarvamidam vibha. Being the supreme yogi, he is sameness, that is samatva, personified. And so we find in him described not only as the Lord of everything good, but also as the Lord of thieves of different types, and also a carpenter, as a carpenter, a pot maker, hunter, and angler. None is excluded from the shower of his grace. He is Ashutosha, readily pleased. Any wild flower, you need not seek the good flowers. Even a wild flower will do for worshipping him. The first chapter, that is Anuvaga of SRIRUDRAM, is a set of prayers to the Lord to give up anger. Rudra Manyave, that is the mantra, starts like that. So Manyu, Kopa. So he is, Kopa is his Shakti. Manyu is his Shakti. So he is praised with that, he has as a Shaktiman. So that's also a kind of praise. Praising him. Lord, to give up anger, roused against those who transgress the divine commandments. The second to the 9th chapter, 2nd to 9th, it contained the prostrations to his omniscience and to his indwelling the hearts of all souls. The 10th chapter celebrates the also Lord as prayers for prosperity and warding off all evil. And in the last, that is the 11th chapter, we get the thanksgiving to the Lord's attendants, that is Bhudaganas. These 11 chapters are properly known as Namagas, because in every mantra we can see Nama, Namo Namaha or Namaha. So it is known as Namaga, this portion, 11 chapters, because most of the verses carry the refrain Namaha or Namo Namaha, and it is repeated more than 1,183 times, these Namaha. And the next 11 chapters are known as Chamaga, because the refrain here is Cha and Me, Cha Me, Chamaga. And it is repeated more than 350 times. Namaga and Chamaga together go by the name of Rudradhyaya. Though the text of Rudram occurs in the Karma Kanda of the Yajurveda, its use transcends the performance of rituals. It is a great help in mental adoration, that is Upasana. Above all, it is an Upanishad. Each mantra reflects with a deep spiritual significance. We have to toil hard our brain into the commentaries of Sayana, Bhattabhaskara, Vishnu Suri, Jagadguru Shankara, Sandaswami, and Ahobila to bring out the Vedantic treasures encapsulated in these mantras. Even these scholars whose names are mentioned here, even their commentaries are not to the full satisfaction. I think when Sri Narayanan Poti, when he explains the passage by passage, taking some random, I think so, random he may select, he cannot explain within these 2 days all the mantras in detail, but he may, at random, he will select some portions where there are so many meanings, or layers of meaning, philosophical, social, religious, devotional, and like that, several types of meanings. There he may explain these characteristics of these mantras. The Vedas have three divisions: Karma Kanda, that is ritualistic portion; Upasana Kanda, that is worship, Upasana Kanda, worship portion; and Jnana Kanda, the knowledge portion. Sri Rudra occurs in the Karma Kanda of the Yajur Veda and is used in Homa. It describes Rudra in his universal aspects as the supreme being, the omnipotent, omnipresent, and omniscient, Lord of universe, and is therefore used in Upasana or mental worship. It is also described as Rudropanishad, as it confers immortality by giving us the knowledge of the supreme being. Atmajnanena tadapi bhavati. And Rudra Japa is also spoken of as the great purifier, being the most effective expiation for even the worst sins. The Veda mantras are to be understood properly, and the implied meaning is more important than the literary meaning, and hence the help of the ancient commentators has to be eagerly sought. This can only be supplemented with modern commentaries, if any. SRIRUDRAM is the most important text in all the Vedas, say Shruti, Smriti, Itihasa, and Purana. In Jabala Upanishad, brahmacharis, the seekers of truth, students, they ask for the means for attaining immortality. The Guru Yajnavalkya replies that it is repeating Shatarudriya. Only through that you can get the final emancipation. And this Shatarudriya, and this contains the names of the immortal one. This Shatarudriya has innumerable Rudras who are Devatas as revealed by the mantras of Sri Rudra. This Rudra is found in 100 branches of Yajurveda. One becomes sinless by chanting this. Similar statements are expressed, can be seen in Kurma Purana, in Mahabharata, in Drona Parva, and also in several other Upanishads. The speciality of this Shatarudriya is that it is not merely chanted by prostrations, that is Nama, are added. It is said in Kurma Purana that a king who had successfully completed Gayatri Upasana then was asked by Shiva to chant the Shatarudriya with Namaha. In other words, Shatarudriya confers mukti on its votaries. The chanting of this is prescribed even for sannyasins. Atyashrami sarvada sagadva jabet anena jnanamapnodi samsararnava nashanam in Kaivalya Upanishad. So it is substantiated by this Upanishad passage. In Sutta Samhita, it is said that this is the greatest explanation for even the worst sins. He says, Yes Shraddhaya Yuto Nityam Shatarudriyam Abhyaset Agni Dahat Surapanat Agratyacharanat Tatha Muchyade Brahma Hatyaya Idi Kaivalya Shakhinaha Idi. Again, chanting of Sri Rudra is prescribed for fulfillment of desires, for expiation, and for attaining mukti. Sarvopanishadam Saraha Rudradhyaya Samarthitaha Bhogarthino Mukshorva Prayaschitarthino Biva Rudropanishadam Muktva Gadiranya na Vidyate. According to Jagadguru Shankara, who cites the authority of Shruti, Smriti, Itihasa, and Purana. The Rudra speaks of Brahman and not of karma, as stated by Sayana. Sayana, in his Bhashya throughout, he attaches this with karma, but Shankara says that it is Rudra is the entire concept of Rudra. It is belong to or attributed to the Brahman aspects, and not of karma, as stated by Sayana. So Vishnu Suri also holds the same view and attempts to give an independent commentary to prove this point. Even a more chanting of SRIRUDRA is highly efficacious. But according to Yaska, one who chants knowing the mantras and the meanings is purified and goes to heaven directly. This is true in the performance of yajnas also. It is this which prompted the commentators like Sayanacharya to write commentaries explaining the meaning of the mantras. But even with this commentary of Sayanacharya, the meaning would be incomplete, as the commentary explains the mantras from the point of view of rituals, applicability of the mantras in performing yajnas. So it is only a one-side view, only from part of the yajnas. There should be a holistic approach to mantras. Then only we will get the real connotation of each mantra. So, as explained above by Jagadguru Shankara, we have to find a deeper. Only Shankara has told that Rudra and the entire Shadarudriya portion in the Krishna Yajurveda, it directly depicts or gives the entirety. It gives the sum total of the concept of Brahman. So we have to find a deeper meaning, and this can be done only by a commentary written from the Adhyatma point of view, spiritual point of view. And this work has been admirably executed by Vishnu Suri. You have seen the Ananda Ashrama publications. The peculiarity of SRIRUDRA, the peculiarity of the SRIRUDRA is that we have many mantras where the Lord is associated with Niristobhati, or where mere facts are stated as such worldly matters. And he is there in mantra it says, he is there those who run. Rudra exists in persons, those who run, who stand. Nama asinebhyaha, nama tishtebhyaha, etc. So mantras are there. We should not justify this plain meaning by saying that all pervasiveness of Rudra, is being praised. All pervasiveness is started in terms of generals and not particulars. He is the indweller in the earth, pervades the Upanishad says, Yet Srishtva Tadevanu Pravishat. Yet Srishtva Tadevanu Pravishat. As in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad is all right. But when we say he is, there are some expressions like he is trees and he is leaves and stones, then the mantras are either not clear or have nothing special to convey. This is the argument of Vishnu Suri. He feels that the Purva Mimamsakas created a mess. This is the statement of Vishnu Suri, not mine. He says that the Acharyas, several Acharyas, those who comment on Mimamsa text, the Purva Mimamsakas, they created a mess in interpreting the Vedas as preaching only karma. He finds some inconsistencies in the mantras guiding the performance of Ashwamedha, etc. The essential message of the Vedas is to remind man of his divinity and help him to realize his true nature. In other words, the message is spiritual and knowledge oriented and not action oriented. This is the difference. This Vishnu Suri makes it very clear. That is what already told by Shankara. This principle is accepted by Jagadguru Shankara, even though, but Shankara accepted all these things. He told that all these things have the spiritual implication, and all mantras are related to spirituality and not to action, not karma, connected with karma. He says that it is connected with jnana, but still Shankara has not explained all these mantras. He would have explained all these mantras. That will be a very great gift to the humanity, no doubt about it. And in his commentary, he follows, Shankara follows Sayana and Bhatta Bhaskara, even though he criticized Sayana. He criticized Sayana in several times, but he follows Sayana. That is what we seen in the Bhashyas. The action-oriented meaning is just justified when we remember that a vast majority of people understand only this. That is, common man understand only karma, not jnana. The knowledge-oriented meaning is justified as that is the real meaning of the ultimate analysis, and one should know this. And even though one is not prepared to accept it straight away, knowledge-oriented meaning that maybe may not be in a position for an ordinary man to understand it and digest it and accept it straight away. He has to delve upon. He has to dwell deep in the subject, and then only he will get. Then he will become an jnani. He will not be an ordinary man. So that is. So karma. So what I want to say is that even karma should be led to jnana, and Bhagavad Gita says karmana jaya. Not in karma, Bhagavad Gita in Viveka Chudamani, Acharya Shankara says that karmana jayade bhakrihi, bhakriya jnanam prajayade, jnana sanjayade mokshaha, iti vedartha nishchaya. So that is there. This root is there always. And jnana and a smooth transition is provided by the philosophy of the Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita is the practical text for that. How karma it translates to bhakti, and then for the final emancipation, pave way to final emancipation. So the philosophy of upasana and nishkama karma, these are the two things projected by Bhagavad Gita. It is Bhatta Bhaskara, Kandaswami, and Ahobala who praised worship-oriented meaning. That is upasana, upasana parata. That is. Unfortunately, Jagadguru Shankara, Bhatta Bhaskara, and Ahobala have not commented on Chamakam, the second 11 chapters, where you see Chame Sturi. That's there. And we have to depend only on Sayana, and because since Shankara has not written anything about it, we have to depend on Sayana and Vishnu Suri for the commentary. Here again, Sayana is very brief, and Vishnu Suri is our main support. Vishnu Suri we can depend upon because he has discussed mostly from the point of view of knowledge, that from Brahman, from knowledge side. One thing maybe remember, even though Bhatta Bhaskara gives various interpretations, none of the commentators is clear in every place of of its consistency of the areas where you have entertained some doubt. This is true of Vishnu Suri also. But comparatively, Vishnu Suri is more dependable for us because we get several knowledge-oriented meanings from this portion of Karmakanda. All the available commentators taken together. So what we have to do? Finally, we become helpless. Shankara has not explained it fully. Then we can depend upon that, surely, no doubt about it. But Shankara has very little he has commented upon. And Vishnu Suri, even though he has done not fully justified or will not give any full satisfaction. So what we have to do? All the real seeker, all the available commentators taken together, and of course with the shraddha of the reader associated with the reading of the commentaries, it should be possible to get a fairly clear idea. What really, I think this is what going to be executed by, or rather going to be implemented by our Narayan Bhuti today and the next Sunday in his exegetical exercise. But even a casual listener or reader, so what we have to do, it should be possible to get a fair idea, a clear idea, only by brooding over that subject. An ordinary man is not so easy for him to arrive at the real meaning, the realization part. The realization happens only when you what we call brood over several commentaries, and when you read several commentaries, you will come to the real point from of which you will get the real emancipation. So it should be possible to get a fair, clear idea. Vedic mantras can never be made very clear. Whatever may be the scholarship you have, there is some limit in explaining the meaning of the mantras. It is not like ordinary poetry. It is not that something written. It is apaurushaya, it is depicted. So to know the full significance and the meaning of the mantras, that is very difficult. But all the acharyas, they tried their level best to extract the real sense of these mantras. Can never be made very clear. Their clarity is available to one who constantly meditates on them, meditates on mantras. But even a casual listener or reader can get sufficient inspiration to go deep into their meaning, and he should not come to rash conclusions. Simply reading in a what we call super level, in what a superfluous way, and understand some ordinary material meaning, or know as the what we call the primary meaning of the every utterance have a primary meaning. Then goes to Lakshanikartha, then go to Vyangyartha. Then in the Vyangyartha itself, there is several layers of meaning. The Vyanjana is of that type. That is, as I put in the modern poetics, based on Kavya Shastra, poetics. Based on that, I say these things, these three vyavaras, Abhidha, Lakshana, Vyanjana, like that. But in Kavya, in mantras, in Vedic mantras, even these weapons are not sufficient. These instruments are not sufficient to interpret those things. These are not efficient tools to interpret those mantras. So a real seeker of the meaning of the mantras, he should dwell upon the mantras depending on various commentaries, bhashyas available at present. With these observations, I beg to remain.